So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Lynn Erasmus and I'm on a mission. And my mission is to create 1 million rebels by 2030. So what does that mean? That means Rebel stands for, it's a framework. So it's people that are perhaps resilient, or you have empathy for self and others. Perhaps you are willing to break those rules or those limiting mindsets, or perhaps you've evolved at some point or another. But most importantly, how do you remember to lighten up? So this is our mission and our cause to try and create more rebels by sharing our rebel stories. And I'm deeply passionate about trauma-informed, and I would highly recommend anyone who are willing or wanting to start their rebel journey, start by becoming trauma-informed. It will literally change your life. So I've got the honor of having this amazing, amazing guest joining us today. So this is Shelley McCarthy, and Shelley is the Charity Chief Officer of the NHS Tayside Charitable Foundation. And you're in for a treat because she's going to be sharing a whole lot of information and stories with us today. So welcome, Shelley. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's great. Thank you very much.
So Shelley, would you mind just giving us a quick little overview of your journey, how you reached this point? I know you said you started in May last year, but I mean, you've got quite a beautiful, beautiful track record of in your career and personal life. So if you don't mind sharing a bit with us.
Absolutely. So, I've started in this post in May last year, and it's been an absolute whirlwind. You've probably seen our stuff everywhere now, which is great. Trying to make a real difference under that theme of prevention, which absolutely ties into trauma-informed practice here. But over the past 20 years, I've had an awareness of trauma and how it impacts on people. It first started when I went into local authority working in Perth and Kinross, and I was doing an awful lot to help develop social enterprises. And for me, it was back when social enterprise was a relatively unknown model. So we had a bit of a fight on our hands because people were saying things like, why would you set up a business if it wasn't going to make loads of money? And we were saying, well, this is people that want to give back to their community, want to create organizations that can help people in health or with mental health, anything at all. And back then in 2006, when I first got into it, that's when I thought there's something really special here. And to come full circle, working through employability, I've had a stint working with European funding, policy, performance, even started a charity during COVID alongside Arbroath FC. So to be in this position now, it feels like a really nice space to be utilising all the experience and knowledge that I've gained over the past 20 years. It's gone quick.
My goodness, I think they're very, very lucky to have you. It's really important to have these diverse skills that you can bring to this party. We've always been told you must do that one thing, stick to that one thing, hone in. But if you do that one thing, how can you become an all-round, have this diverse knowledge? So yeah, good on you. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks.
So Shelley, I would like to ask you, obviously you've got quite a bit of experience around trauma-informed, how it works, what's the best practices. So I would like to ask you, what is your understanding of trauma-informed? Why is it important? And where can people start?
For me, when I started to really get into the detail of what it meant to be trauma-informed, was a video that was produced by NHS Scotland. So before I even worked for the NHS, I saw this video called Adverse Childhood Experiences. It was when we were doing a lot of work on reducing child poverty in Angus. And we were presented with this video, and it's from the view of a young child, and it's narrated by a young child of what happens with trauma as a young person and what it means to you going into your older life. And what I found massively impactful about that video was the child's voice, and it was animated, and then at the end you saw the child. And it was like, it was like a real smack round the face. The impact that had on me has stayed with me. And even to this day, I think about it a lot and I talk about it a lot. I know things have moved on a little bit, but I think if you're trying to describe to people what it is, it's a really good tool to use, and you can still get it on YouTube. Yeah. And for me, it was all about how do we create a safe environment for people to talk openly? How do we create a culture of kindness so that people trust us and feel safe to share their stories with us? Because at the heart of trauma-informed practice is that, kindness, listening, but not just listening, but hearing people as well. So as part of everything that we do, as we are based on hospital sites a lot of the time, we have that thinking in amongst what we're doing, because absolutely we want to create that safety for people to tell us what it is they need, and how they're feeling and how the environment's impacting on them. We do an awful lot of work just now in the foundation around how are our hospital environments impacting people's health, and how can we change that? So specifically around things like dementia and other memory-related challenges that people have. Is that the best thing to put them into a beige waiting room? Probably not. So how do we create the environments for people to thrive and feel safe is a key priority for us.
Wow, that is quite comprehensive, right? I mean, we wouldn't have thought about our environment, what the walls, the color of the walls would look like. We would always think about how we present ourselves and what sort of questions we ask. Mm-hmm. So I would, I think that would be also quite nice if you could perhaps share with us afterwards that link, and I'll upload it on our resources link. I think that's quite powerful message to share. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So I was wondering if you perhaps have a success story of where you've seen that the trauma-informed approach either transformed the situation or the person's life or yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, a recent example, when I came into this post and I was finding out a bit more about the different elements to the job, we have the gift shop and the hub space in Nine Wells Hospital. And around 12,000 people flow past that every day, whether it's patients, carers, consultants, students. So it's a busy thoroughfare, if you like. And one of the things that the volunteers spoke to me about was if someone's had an appointment or they've been having tests within the hospital, maybe they've not had a lot of time to speak to the clinician that they're working with. Or it takes a bit of time. If you've had really good news or really bad news, takes a bit of time for that to sink in. So people would maybe leave their appointment, wander through the concourse and find themselves in our gift shop. And often people maybe don't have somebody to go home to, or, they live on their own, things like that. And they feel comfortable within that gift shop environment because it's not clinical. To say to the volunteers, this is what I've just been told, and they get a wide variety of things from terminal diagnosis, which is absolutely heartbreaking, to I've just found out I'm pregnant. So it's a wide spectrum of things that are being presented to our volunteers. Wow. And having that safe space to then say to them, what do you need? What would help you right now? And we've just opened up the hub space beside the gift shop so that if somebody has had news that they want to digest or speak to somebody about, we can then take them over, get them a drink, have a bit of a chat with them, and then help signpost them to other services that might support them. And that's a key part of what we're trying to do as the foundation. It's not just about distributing funding. It's about how do we wrap support around people and create a network around the third sector where we're all helping people and wrapping that support around them. So that was a real eye-opener for me that was happening in our gift shop. And I massively encourage it. And being trauma-informed is something that we're rolling out across all of our services. So it's going to be crucial within that space.
I love that. That is so beautiful. It's very, thoughtful. We've experiencing a similar situation at home back in South Africa. And it's just, where's that support structure afterwards? Where do we go from here? And it would definitely have made a difference. Yeah, I won't go into that too much detail, but thank you for sharing that and championing this. This is important, and this would be quite interesting to see how other organizations could perhaps mirror that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be difficult, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we literally put a coffee machine into the space, and we're gathering people's information all the time. So all the other different organisations can keep leaflets with us, or we're gathering the contacts so that we can signpost people. But just having that friendly atmosphere and somebody willing to listen is vital. That's all it has to be, really. Somebody that isn't putting that what's wrong with this person. It's what does this person need. It's that shift, and it can be ever so small, but can make a massive impact for people.
Wow, I love that. Thank you. So we come to the next point, which is hashtag 1 million rebels by 2030. So would you like to tell us what is your rebel story? Do you have a rebel story? And why did you agree to join this campaign?
Well, I've always found myself at the start of new things because I'm really interested in innovation and especially in the world of funding, trying new things. And back in 2014, I found myself exploring how crowdfunding could help develop communities and empower them rather than always going to traditional funders and going through traditional routes to get funding. We started to look at how could we roll out crowdfunding so that communities could take the power back. And we were sitting within a local authority at the time, so that was quite unique because usually with things like this, it was led by the private sector. But we embraced it and we developed ambassadors throughout the area. And there was resistance at the start. People were just thinking, why would people just donate online for something they don't really understand? But the beauty of crowdfunding was that people could, a bit like this, just film themselves talking about their project, see how it was going to impact on their community. A lot of the time it was to fill a gap in services. So we had a wide variety of things, from very small campaigns around bringing back a fireworks display in a town, all the way through to an aspiring Olympian in the Paralympics saying, I really need a racing wheelchair because mine only turns left. The one that I've got just now, and supporting her to build a campaign, get private sponsorship, all these things to help her on that journey to get into the Paralympics, which as an aspiration for a 12-year-old was amazing. So we had to absolutely help this person. So yeah, we did an awful lot of work. We worked alongside Crowdfunder. And yeah, just really tried to break that kind of barrier of limiting people based on funding criteria, so they could put out for anything. And, a lot of the time people were able to lever in the funding that they wanted to. Within the launch period, for within the first 3 months, through the crowdfunding portal we developed, we generated around £80,000. Wow. So it was quick as well. Instead of having to wait months and months for a funding application to be processed, people could launch their crowdfunding campaign, have it open for a couple of weeks, and then have the money at the end. So it was fantastic. I absolutely loved the work we did on crowdfunding, and we're looking to see how we can utilise some of the thinking here within the foundation to, again, help empower people to get the funding they need to deliver the projects for their communities.
Yes. And you reckon a rebel was that, do you think that's what it takes to be a rebel, to be innovative?
Yeah. And when people are telling you that it's not going to work, it's that persistence, or tried that a few years ago and it didn't work. That's one of my triggers that drives me to really push forward, because it's like, well, things are so different now. So, it's good to have these things. And I have always found as an individual, these things drive me and motivate me rather than make me go, okay, well, you're right, I'll just leave it. We'll just not change anything.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, it's
about evolving.
let these things be your motivation rather than defeat you, is what I would say.
Correct. We've got two options, right? Look at the negative side or look at the positive side. So how can we
Absolutely.
transform this problem into an opportunity?
Exactly, yeah.
We're like magicians.
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a vital skill over the past few years, given the challenges with the pandemic and things,
Yes.
to just keep pushing the boundaries of how we support people, and that was how I found myself working with our Arbroath Football Club, because it was around. We knew that it was getting really bad in terms of poverty. The national statistic was 1 in 4 young people were in poverty in some parts of Arbroath, and 1 in 2 were in poverty. So we felt it was essential to develop the charity so that we could help the young people and give them the best possible chance in life. And it's fantastic and continues to grow even now.
Yes. I love that you bring that up. And I would like to ask you about that because oftentimes when I speak to people, they say, oh, no, I've never experienced trauma before. But you were alive during COVID.
Absolutely.
You were traumatized. That's collective trauma.
Yeah.
I would like you to expand a little bit on the big T's and the small T's. So, for instance, people would say, "Oh, poverty is not trauma. Poverty it's just a thing." Can you expand a little bit around your definition around trauma so that we can just understand that perhaps a bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I suppose for me, that was one of the great things about the video, the link that I'll share with you, because before I'd watched that, I was with the majority that thought trauma was something absolutely massive. You've had a big family breakdown or something like that. I thought it had to be something really, really huge or a big impact on your life. But actually, it can be your parents splitting up. It can be witnessing an argument on the street. It can be absolutely anything that sticks with you and then helps. Well, it doesn't help, but it shapes you as an individual. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that it could be a relatively small thing, but you don't realise how much it's impacted on you until you start to reflect behaviours that come from that. And poverty is absolutely one of those. I didn't grow up in an affluent family, and I would say it absolutely drove me to want to do really well in my studies, and it has created a lot of ambition with me because I've seen what life could be like, if I have a bit more cash in my pocket, So, it can be absolutely anything. And the cost of living crisis that we're now experiencing is creating a lot of traumas. So within the Football Trust, we were seeing young people coming up to the training in the depths of winter in shorts and T-shirt because they didn't have big jackets or they didn't have the kit. So that must have a massive impact on them, seeing their friends with, all the gear and them kind of thinking, why don't I have that? So, having the ability to provide those things so that there was no stigma or anything like that, because that's another big thing. It's one thing to be in poverty, but the stigma that goes with that is massively detrimental to your mental health.
Right.
Because I always used to say, this isn't a handout, it's a hand up. Nobody needs to know that you've had this for free or anything like that. That was a big thing for me. And things that I had experienced when I was a young person. So I didn't want other young people to have that feeling because it's not great, and it doesn't make you feel like you're contributing in the way that others are. So,
On that note, so there's obviously the next stage. So once we accept now this is trauma. Yes, I've experienced trauma. We've done the trauma-informed training. We understand why we behave the way that we behave, or other people that we deal with. What's next? What do you believe is the next stage? Because the point is for us to evolve, right? It's not to stay there. It's about acceptance. It's about having that empathy for self, yes, and having that resilience to bounce back, pushing through the boundaries, but then it's the evolution. And what is, from your experience, what is that evolution to transform this trauma into happily ever after?
For a lot of the people that we've worked with, and for myself included, volunteering is a massive element. I did a lot of volunteering to help me understand key elements of work that I was about to do or work that I wanted to get into. So, for example, I became a special constable because I wanted to see how poverty in those areas of highest deprivation were impacting on people, because I was writing about poverty a lot. And I needed to get in to see what it actually meant. And that was a real eye-opener, working in some of the most deprived parts of Scotland, seeing the impacts on people's health and well-being, because it was everything. It consumes people in every way. It's their environment, it's their behaviours, it's their mental health. It starts to almost infect every part of their life. And that's where you get those feelings of hopelessness. So I found that when I'd started to develop my skills around trauma, doing volunteering was the next logical step to get that real life experience. And now I'm in the position that I'm in. We're doing a lot of work to ensure that everything, all the pieces of work we're doing is underpinned by that thinking. So that has been the progression that I've personally gone through.
And for people who's experienced a trauma?
Definitely. I mean, there's so many different organisations out there that can support now. And a lot of the time, because maybe people haven't had the big traumas in their life, they don't think they should be seeking counselling support or other alternative therapies. But it's essential, and it's nothing to be looked down upon. I think it's massively it really helps you to grow as an individual, is what I think, and having gone through various traumas myself and been through some counselling and some other different services, I think it's massively rewarding for you as an individual to embrace the different types of services that are out there.
And empowering, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that empowerment really helps you grow. And then help other people, because you've then got the lived experience that you can relate to people's traumas as well.
Yes. Thank you, Shelley. So tell me, what would your version of lighten up be? What keeps you lighten up? What keeps you happy? How do you cope with all these things that's been going on in your life and dealing with people who's experienced extreme traumas throughout their life? It can't be easy. So what is your secret to lighten up?
I tend to find making sure that I'm not sitting in the house a lot. I try to get out a lot and walk. I like to walk by the sea. It's just something that's always been, fills up my cup, if you like. Going down and being by big masses of water is great. The volunteering was really, really good for me. It made me feel like I was really giving back and supporting other people. Other elements, I really like to learn new things. So always trying to keep up to date with new things, watching TED Talks like the one that you've done, and just trying to keep my mind active and growing. Doing the stuff that we're doing here within the foundation, testing new ways of working with people, testing new ways of distributing funding. All these things really motivate me to keep going.
Oh, love that. Thank you. Okay, so I would just like to end off with, there's obviously, if you've got any advice and resources for either organizations that are looking to transform or offering support for their staff, and also for people who are seeking support. So those who perhaps feel like they experience trauma at some level, what sort of support is out there for them?
Well, there's an awful lot of organisations working in this arena just now. We're supporting quite a number of them through the foundation now. But if you go on to NHS Tayside, if you live in this area, NHS Scotland's websites, that's a good first port of call. And yeah, just one of the things I find for quick pieces of information, if you just jump on social media, the health organisations usually share a lot of things on Facebook, and just because that's where the majority of people are still looking for information. But if you follow the foundation, NHS Tayside Charitable Foundation, on Facebook, Instagram or LinkedIn, we're always putting updates of where you can get support and advice. But yeah, there's an awful lot out there to suit all the varieties of needs that people might have.
Okay. We'll also share those links that you shared with us in the resource section. So
Brilliant.
Thank you. Okay, so to end it off, one key message. What is if you had a magic wand, Shelley, and you can change anything in the world, what is that one thing that you would change or leave a message with of inspiration for someone else?
I think I've been thinking about this a lot, not just because of this interview, but just because of where we're at just now. We're in a tricky environment, there's wars going on and all these types of things. And I think, never underestimate the impact of being kind, because being kind to people can make them feel good. It can make you feel good. And it might sound a bit cheesy, but I think it's the key. If we were all a bit kinder to each other, I think we'd all be a lot happier.
Oh, I love that. It's so simple, right? Easy. We always expect this big, complicated structures and advice, and it's like, oh no, just be kind.
That's it. Yeah, it's a simple one.
Well, thank you so much, Shelley. I really appreciate this time. And how would people be able to reach you? What is the best way for people to be able to get hold of you?
Yeah, you can have a look at our website. If you go on to NHS Tayside Charitable Foundation, the Facebook page has the contact details. Happy to have a chat with anybody that has any ideas for projects around trauma-informed practice. As I say, we have a bit of funding around the prevention work, and also really keen to help people fundraise. We've got a fundraising element to the team. And any ideas that you have around health-related projects, then do get in touch and we can see how we can help you.
Oh, we are so lucky to live here. We are just geared up for growth. This is fantastic. Definitely. Thank you.
Definitely.
So thank you, Shelley, and thank you everyone for watching today. I hope you're inspired to become your own rebel, and please do share your rebel stories on social media and just use the hashtag 1 million rebels by 2030 and tag a friend. Let's get the circle bigger and get more rebels out there who can share their stories of transforming trauma into happily ever after. Thank you.